Hey there, everybody. I just wanted to take a minute and start going through some of the things on this whole New Year, New You phenomenon that happens every single January. It's not a bad thing, so don't take this as me bashing people trying to make a change in their lives. I want to see this happen. I want to see people doing good things for their health, good things for their wellness, good things for their activity levels. Each of these things make dramatic changes in people's lives. It's what we want to do. What I'm here to do today is to kind of try to wade through some of the things I see in practice and in the gym as well. Things that end up usually being more detrimental than they do helpful. I've made a ton of these mistakes personally, and if I can help even one or two of you change those things, that's a win. We want to make sure that people are getting good information. People are getting things that are going to help them down that path. Make sure that you can get the change that you want so that you can spend more time with your family. You can have better quality of life. You can have better doctor checkup visits. You can have these things that you can earn very simply just by following some very basic rules. And so let's go ahead and jump in, start diving into this. The new year, people commit to anything and everything, from diet to exercise to relationships to different things at church to, a wide variety of things. Each of these things have very positive effects on our lives. So we're going to jump into the health and fitness side of it. Being in this field, I see how people choose their dietary plans. I see how they decide to jump into exercise. I see how they do it alone. They do it in groups. They do a crash diet. They do a product-assisted diet. They do a group diet. We just want to kind of wade through this, okay? So hang on with us and let's see where we can take this today. So like I said, I've lived through this a couple different times. You know, I was on the typical, okay, it's January, we're gonna try and lose the weight. Those of you who know me know that a little under 2 years ago, I was 310 pounds. It was not the football 310 pounds where you could bench press a house and you could do all the things you want to do. I was the crazy unfit, unable to walk upstairs very well and couldn't keep up with my kids 310. And so I want to give some experience to this. A lot of people don't realize that I actually did have a pretty big weight loss right before the birth of my first daughter, Kaysen. I'm going to pull some pictures up here in just a minute. I hit 300 pounds at that, and I went on the New Year, New You challenge and cut my dietary intake down to, I'm 6'4", I was 300 pounds. I cut it down to something like 1,500 calories, which for a guy my size, just not okay. I was running as much as I could without trying to hurt myself and dropped about 50 pounds. I was really proud of that. But now I look back at pictures and I see that while I leaned out, there is a massive difference between weight loss and fat loss. And that's something that we really, really want to pay attention to when we're discussing this topic, because you can lose weight very, very simply. Losing fat is a little bit different, and unfortunately that's the thing that provides those major health benefits. We need to make sure that the muscle that we have, we're maintaining and building. We're not dehydrating ourselves, we're not taking ourselves into a starvation state, and we're actually dropping the fat. So body composition is actually a better way to view this, and it's changed the way that I view nutrition. And so the pictures that I'm going to show you, the first one is me running and basically cutting everything back, trying to eat, clean, but eating nowhere near enough. And you'll notice that 1 year after, the weight had completely all come back on. Okay, that was a really hard thing for me to look at because of the fact I knew how much work I'd put in, or I thought I'd put in. Fast forward about 4 years, I had actually gotten up 10 pounds higher than what I was at that rate. And so I had a great group of people around me who lovingly nudged, as I like to say, every chance they got to try and get me to exercise, try and change my dietary patterns. And I love them all the more for it because it changed my life. No matter what type of exercise you decide to do something. And we're going to talk more about the dietary stuff as we go. This time, I lost 100 pounds in just under 18 months. So a good long period of time to make sure that the weight loss came off effectively. But also I didn't just starve my body and run out of muscle mass. And then the second picture on there, I believe I was at 21 months out. So we've maintained this for almost 2 years now, which is a big thing for me. But the reason is because this was a lifestyle dietary change. It was not a diet, okay? This has completely changed the way that I've viewed food, completely. So now that you've seen those pictures and kind of saw where the proof in the pudding is, my goal, it's not over. My goal is to make sure that I maintain this fat loss and maintain the health benefits that I've had while increasing muscle mass. So body composition is a never-ending goal for me. If you're doing a diet that has an end date, it's probably not going to be successful. My wife and I both have made significant changes here, but it's because of one very simple concept, and it's something that a good friend of mine, David Barnett at Macroholics Nutrition, who, if you don't know them, look them up, great people, and they help my wife and I so much. But one of the very first things that they said was, if you can't do it the rest of your life, you're not going to stick with it. It's such a simple concept that if it's not designed to be done for life, then there's a fall off point. Diets have a beginning and an end. Lifestyle change doesn't. It is, I'm going to stick with this and I'm going to keep going. Like I said, I mentioned those guys' name. There are a ton of other people doing great stuff. Those are just the ones that I have personal experience with, and I recommend to pretty much everybody that I talk to. And so how are you going to determine what kind of plan to follow? If you follow that one rule of, is this sustainable for life? Can I do this for life? Am I giving up something that I won't be able to give up for life? You know, if the diet you're on says you can never have a cheeseburger again, what's the first thing you're going to crave? More than likely a cheeseburger with extra fries and a milkshake. That's what it was for me. So if you can pay attention to those things and learn how to eat, it's teaching your body and teaching your mind, more importantly, that it's okay to have one of these things. It's a treat. It just doesn't need to be every single meal, every single day. I love sweets. Everybody talks about, are you a sweet eater or are you a salty eater? And I'm like, yes, I'm both. The reason that I got so heavy is because eating was my favorite pastime in the world. The cool thing is, I'm now eating 3,300 calories a day with 50% of it being carbs, and I'm maintaining my weight. But it's because of a couple very important concepts. Number one, I do get good exercise on a daily basis in the CrossFit gym. But number two, I'm paying attention to what I'm eating. So if I can have pizza, it's okay. But you better believe that I'm going to balance out another meal with greens and other vegetables and lean protein source and that kind of stuff. A treat is meant to be a treat. It's not meant to be a daily sustained calorie source. There is no such thing as the perfect diet. There's the perfect diet for you if you can maintain it and you're not depriving yourself. So keep that in mind, please, please, please. The one that kind of prompted this little video was I have a friend who I was talking to, and they informed me that for the last almost 6 months they've been on an 800 calorie diet. I'm just going to throw this out there. I put the question out there on our stories. Do you know how many calories a toddler, so 2 to 3 years old, needs to survive? That number is somewhere between 1,000 and 1,300. So even if you take the bare minimum of what we're looking at, of 1,000 calories for a 2-year-old, And you're taking an adult body that's doing more, that's up and around, that's trying to heal, that's trying to negate the effects of stress in their life, trying to exercise, trying to do all these things, and you're giving them 200 calories less. There's no way that that's, number one, sustainable, or number two, good for you. You actually start looking into some malnutrition things. And I want to throw some of these out there for people who are on those super low calorie diets. And see how many of these things do you actually already have. Number one is fatigue. Are you fatigued all the time? Do you feel like you can't keep up? If you can't keep up, you're probably not fueling your body. Calories are a unit of energy measure. That's what they are. So it's like filling your gas tank in your car up to a quarter of a tank and wondering why you run out of gas every day or two. You're not giving it enough fuel. Another one, do you get sick more often? If you are not giving your body the fuel that it needs, your immune system cannot fight the way that it needs to. Hair loss. Hair and skin are great indicators of your overall health because they're renewed so frequently. If you start to see the dryness in the hair, the breaking, the loss of the hair, same thing with skin, the super dry skin not healing as good as it could, there's probably something wrong with your nutrition there. We're also an issue with constantly feeling cold, okay? If your body is requiring more calories than it's getting, you're not able to produce that body temperature that you need. In young kids and young adults, you can see impaired growth. Then the other two, they're actually way more common than people realize. Depression. Depression is a huge, huge one because malnutrition can show up as a highly complex mental problem that people just can't break that fog. They can't break that sense of everything is wrong. I'm not saying that every depressive case is this. I'm just saying it can be one of the things that shows up. So if you're having some of these issues, take a look. How much am I eating? Am I even eating enough to sustain my life? And we're going to talk about how to figure that out here in just a minute. The last one is constipation. This is one that a lot of people just kind of put off and they say, whatever, it'll go away. But the problem is, if you are not eating enough, you're not going to be able to make enough stools to have a healthy bowel movement. You're probably dehydrated as well. So these are all things that need to be looked at in very good detail. Okay? And if your nutrition counselor, your friend that's helping you, whoever is helping you do this isn't taking that into consideration, you need to have a chat. All right, so now that we talked about that, we've got to figure out, how do I even figure out how many calories I truly need? This has been made a lot more complicated than it has to be. There's no perfect number, so I'm just going to tell you that now. There's no perfect way to do it, but there is a way to get yourself a baseline, and you can raise and lower from that baseline because you're starting from a unit of measure that's been evaluated in hundreds of thousands of people. The way that I prefer to do it is called the Harris-Benedict formula. This gives you your basal metabolic rate. Okay, your basal metabolic rate gives you the information that you need to say, if all I do is sit on the couch and survive, what is it? This is the bare minimum number. Okay, so in an adult male, you're looking, the formula is 66 plus 6.3 times your body weight in pounds, plus 12.9 times your height in inches, minus 6.8 times your age in years. Okay, complicated. You can look up the Harris-Benedict formula or a basal metabolic rate calculator, and it'll do it for you. You just put in your height, you put in your weight, you put in your age and your sex. Women have a different calculation. Okay, so that's just a big way of saying how much do you need to actually survive. And you're going to notice that a lot of these are going to come in at 12, 13, 1400, 1500 calories. So when you've got people eating 500 to 1,000 calories a day, they're not even meeting their basal metabolic rate, which is a huge, huge problem. The next part that we get kind of confused on is how you figure out your actual energy expenditure. So like I said, everybody's a little bit different, so you have your multipliers. The way that we classify sedentary, lightly active, moderately active, or very active is based on how much exercise you get. It also comes into how your day. All right, so how do we figure out what activity level you're at? Okay, so a sedentary lifestyle is basically you're only doing the activities that are required for independent living. I cook, I walk to the bathroom, I get out of bed, I do that kind of stuff. Moderately active means that you are walking approximately 1.5 to 3 miles a day at a standard walking pace on top of your independent living. Active means that you're walking more than 3 miles a day in addition to, or you could be doing physical activity that's kind of equal to that walking 3 miles. And heavily active, like the strenuous exercise, you're putting in strength training, you're putting in cardiovascular training, you're putting that stuff in 5 to 6 days a week. If you have to ask, am I really at this point? You probably already know if you're at that strenuous level. So just keep that in mind. Really, really important to kind of get that idea. This can all get a little bit convoluted, and that's okay. But the biggest thing we have to pay attention to is, am I getting information from a good source? This is where a really good group comes in handy, like Macroholics or like one of the other people that are out there. You just want to make sure that you're getting enough food. If you are starving yourself, yes, you will lose weight, but guess what? It's going to come back. I guarantee it. You are going to want to binge, and you're going to have all kinds of issues with that problem because your body is going to be driving for food. It's going to go into that kind of half starvation state where you crave so many things, and then you start to see a lot of these health issues show up. All right, so the other one that really comes up really heavily is, well, it's okay, I work out a ton. What I eat doesn't matter. No, okay? This is every bit as dangerous as starving yourself to get the results that you want, okay? In some cases, it's actually more. If you are trying to burn off those calories, what happens that day that you don't get to exercise? That's the question nobody wants to talk about, right? So what happens on that day when you only get to be at the gym for 15, 20 minutes, or you eat a big pizza and you're like, oh man, I've got to be at the gym for 3 hours to burn that off. It's why I'm not a fan of that idea of, oh, that handful of M&Ms is 75 burpees. It doesn't really work that way. You have to just look at it from a point of, diet is 80% of your weight loss. You have to pay attention to it. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy certain things. We had hamburgers last night. You just have to learn how to enjoy them responsibly. It is about learning how to eat. If you learn how to eat, you can have days where you look at something and you say, you know what, I really want some pizza today, and it doesn't throw you off, okay? Going through the dietary and lifestyle change does not mean that you can't ever have the things that you want again. It actually means that you'll probably get them more often and you will have no guilt with it, which is a huge thing. Guilt is a massive thing that will crater your weight loss and your fitness goals. So please keep in mind that working out, it's only 20% of your stuff. You've got to pay attention to the dietary stuff. If you are not paying attention to it, you're missing the boat. We all know people who've worked out for 5, 10 years, and they don't have the look of the person who has worked out for 5 or 10 years, and it's because the diet doesn't match up with the hard work they're putting in the gym, okay? All right, so one of the other things that I asked a question about was, are you more likely to stick with something if you're in a group or if you're alone? Pretty simple question, but the research has proven it time and time and time again that if you have accountability, if you have people who do this stuff with you, you are way more likely to actually follow through and do your resolution or to make the change that you want. Okay. Being in a group does a couple different things. Number one, it's accountability, saying, are you actually doing what you said you were going to do? Okay, that's a huge thing. Number two, it's support. When you are struggling, you can reach out to that group and say, I'm having a problem. How do I fix this? How do I change this? And one of the number one things a good group will tell you is, it's today. Okay, it's today. Tomorrow's a new day. You're starting over. Not a big deal. Okay. And then the other thing is, you get to be that support system for other people. How awesome is that? That somebody else may be struggling and you have the answer for them. One of the best ways to learn anything in this entire world is to teach it or talk to somebody about it. If you can educate somebody else on that and you feel comfortable doing it, that means you have a grasp of what is going on in that situation. if you, and even then, if you're still learning it, but you talk it out and you get comfortable with the terminology, you get comfortable teaching it, guess what happens? You get better and you stick to it more often. So that group mentality, it's not just a crutch to lean on. It's not just something that people do because they're weak or anything else. It's because it works. It's fantastic. And you get to build some awesome friendships that you'll get to have for a ton of time because of the fact that you went through something together and you all saw how hard you worked. Okay? So please, no matter what you do, find a couple buddies, find a couple accountability partners who are going through the same thing as you, and learn from each other, teach each other, share things with each other. We just started a Facebook group about macro-friendly cooking and sharing the recipes that my wife and I make on a constant basis. And now it's turning into something where other people are throwing recipes on, and it's awesome because of the fact that people will see something and say, oh man, I made this substitution and it made this huge change for us and it tastes better. You get to see these fun things from people and you kind of get invested in each other's lives. That's a really cool place to be. All right, and here's the one where we're probably gonna step on some toes, and honestly, I'm okay with that. Does your body need extra products to lose weight? No, it doesn't. I'm not going to go through any of the products, okay? So don't be watching this saying that, oh, he's going to start bashing what I sell. I just want to make very, very clear, your body has the capability to lose weight. It has the capability to build muscle. Now, there are things that make it harder, by all means. If you have hormone deficiencies, if you have some other chronic illness, if you have other things in your body that are being medically treated, yes, it does make it harder. Not impossible, okay? If you are going through some kind of dietary change and the person looking at you says the only way you'll ever lose weight is by doing this, it's probably time to move on. This is where I step on toes. I'm sorry if I stepped on your toes. I'm really not, but that's okay. Losing weight and getting fit is about a couple very simple things. Are you eating the way you should be eating? Are you eating to fuel your body? Are you eating for enjoyment? Or are you eating out of boredom? Or are you eating for one of those other reasons? No, it's about filling the tank the way that it needs to be filled, okay? I personally choose the flexible dieting route. I don't have a problem with anybody going paleo or any of those others. It's about making sure you get the proper nutrient balances, making sure you get good quality food, and making sure you exercise a little bit. People have asked me for the last 2 years, oh, what did you do that worked? I said, I did these two things, diet and exercise, and it was amazing that it worked, I can guarantee you I wouldn't have been able to keep up with it if I didn't have that accountability group though. If I didn't have those people who, when I'm just not feeling the gym that day, or I really just want to go splurge on a pizza or a hamburger or cheesecake or whatever, if I didn't have those people who say, you know what, it's fine, you're going to be okay, it probably wouldn't have worked the same way, all right? So I'd love to hear you guys' take on this. I'd love to hear feedback on this. I know I'm probably going to get a couple people who are a little perturbed. That's fine. I just want people to understand your body is an amazingly capable machine. It can do whatever it needs to do if you, one, give it the right fuel, and every now and then you stretch your legs and you get out and move. All right? So with that being said, I'm here for everything else on the other side. So when you get active and you start doing something and you maybe pull a little muscle, or you start to get a little fatigued, or you're just looking for that maintenance base to make sure that you can continue living that life that you want to, that's what I'm here over at Endurance Chiropractic. So, like I said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, comment below, or you can shoot me a private message, however you want to do, or you can give us a call at the office. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. And we'll talk to y'all later. Make sure and live active. Bye.
Endurance Chiropractic and Sports Therapy.